We're talking to Melissa Griffiths about the issues that people who've made the transition from male to female or from female to male, and just how difficult it's been. And Melissa, when we talked in the first part of our interview, you said the journey began for you many, many years ago. As you said, you're nearly 50 now. So how much support would you have had in those very early days when communication was very different, the internet wasn't available? You must have felt incredibly lonely, maybe thinking to yourself, am I the only person in the world like this?
I think you do, and obviously not having the internet, I wouldn't have even heard of the word transgender growing up in Auckland. So you're confused, you're going through your teenage years as well, you're confused about who you are. Hence, you're trying to bury those feelings. Oh, that's not normal. It's not the way I should be. I'm meant to be a boy. So you try and bury yourself and be one of the boys, and go to parties or whatever, and hang out with the wrong crowd just to be masculine, sort of thing, as a teenager. And you don't realise what you're doing to yourself. You're not sort of totally aware, and it's not till you become an adult you start to put everything together, you start to reflect on your childhood. But it would have been incredibly difficult for a lot of transgender people in the 80s, 90s, or even earlier, in terms of figuring out who they are. And back in the 60s, I can't imagine it. For those that definitely knew, you didn't sort of have any doubt. For those who might have had little doubts or didn't have anyone to talk to, it would have been incredibly hard for them.
I bet. When did it start getting better for you? When did you start getting the sort of support, whether it was from friends who understood that you were struggling to come out, you felt that there was another you, a more important you that needed to come out? When did that happen? When did we start getting those feelings?
Probably a few years before I transitioned. Like, I started to be comfortable enough to be open to some of my friends, rather than just going to my set of friends at certain clubs or bar where I was safe to dress as a female. So that's when I started to feel that I could start doing it. And I guess going through all that process of changing documents and going on the hormones, probably a year or so after that, I started to feel really comfortable going to work as a woman and living as a woman. But it takes time, and I recognise that you've just got to take it one day at a time. And that's the most challenging part of the journey when you start living full time as well.
I was going to say, let's go and talk about the question of working. You're a professional. How difficult was it for you to face up to the fact that you had to let all the people around you know? And did it diminish? Were you diminished in their eyes? Are you a lesser worker, a lesser professional because of the fact you're a transgender person?
No, I think there was always some that would sort of be hesitant about it and have questions, but just having a plan of when I was going to do everything in terms of psychological visits, when I wanted to change my documents, just having my own plan from the start helped me stick to that plan and helped me deal with those issues better. Whereas if I didn't have a plan, I may not have done it as well. Like, I had the odd panic attack, which Caitlyn Jenner talks about, which I never had before, which is quite,
Melissa, can I let you in on a secret? Everybody else has panic attacks too at different stages of their lives, all right? So rest assured you're not alone there. For different stimuli, different things impact us and affect us. So that's a very normal trait. What's very interesting though, you and I touched on the subject before we started talking today, and that was that a high-profile ESPN reporter in Britain, part of the USPN sports team, has also made a similar journey, went from male and now is a female reporter. And that's been very much in the public eye, and that's been incredibly well received. Does that give you courage? Does that give you a moment to pause and think, yeah, they can do it, I can do it, we can all do it?
It does, and you see people like them and Caitlyn Jenner are very in the public eye. and that sort of encourages you to keep going. And I've obviously done some stuff in the media and spoken on Studio 10 about Hannah Mountsie not getting in the AFL women's draft, and helping Tracy Spicer with the Me Too movement for a while. That sort of made me realise you can make a difference, and if it's just putting yourself out there, and that's challenging in itself, and not knowing how to go about it initially, and just step by step, and just making your way, finding your way. But by doing that, that you're encouraged by others now that are actually doing stuff, and that gives you sort of inspiration as well to keep going when you have those moments when you feel like you're not really making much of a difference. And especially through COVID-19, you feel like...
And that's why you've reached out to us at The Informer, again, to make people more aware that there are people such as yourself who have been there and are doing, and they're part of a journey from one to another. Is there a message you want to leave us with as we finish this part 2 of our interview with Melissa Griffiths?
I think especially during COVID-19, we've all got to look after each other, be safe. As far as transgender people go, we're still people. When you see us walking down the street, and hopefully post-pandemic, that people will, maybe this will give people time to reflect on people that are different to them, and maybe a bit more empathetic towards us. And we're not scary people or aliens from another planet. We're just people like you that have feelings and just want to live our lives and make a difference, Melissa, in the world where we can.
I think it takes great courage to do what you're doing. I commend you. Bravo, well done. It's a difficult journey. And it will continue to be because the society is filled with people who understand, and there are a great many who don't understand. But by doing interviews like this one, I trust we break down some more of those barriers and make it a little bit easier, especially for all of you, to work in the marketplace and show your worth, because you're just as valuable now as you were before. Yes or no?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I am. And I know a lot of trans people sometimes find it hard to get work, so hopefully we can start to break down some of those barriers as well, so it's easier for them to get work instead of them choosing someone else, and choosing someone else because they're the other person's not transgender, but they won't say it. So just overcoming those little things, hidden barriers, would be great. And it's great to be on your show and help to continue to break down barriers.
Well done, Melissa. Thank you very much for giving us the time and for taking us through the journey and giving us a sense of some of the challenges you've had to overcome, some of the questions you had to answer before you stepped up and made the journey to Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on The Informer, George. Thank you.